I'm Dr. Anuradha, Senior Consultant in Obstetrics and Gynecology at Ankura LB Nagar branch. Today I'll be talking all about vaginal delivery. So, vaginal delivery basically means which most people commonly say as normal delivery. So, normal in the sense means mother and baby should be fine. That is, at the end of the delivery, mother should be fine, baby should be fine. That is what is called as normal. So both in cesarean and in vaginal delivery, mother and baby are expected to be normal. So what you'll commonly use as the word normal delivery is actually vaginal delivery. So vaginal delivery or otherwise the natural birth passage delivery. Okay. So the other delivery which we're talking about is the operative delivery or the cesarean delivery. So what are the doubts that you'll commonly ask about vaginal delivery? So most mothers or most patients, as in when they're confirmed that the pregnancy is confirmed in the very first trimester, that is say about 5 to 6 weeks, the patient and her attendants, the first thing they ask is, Madam, what are the medicines we are supposed to take to have a vaginal delivery? Or what are the exercises we should begin to do a vaginal delivery? Or any specific diet to be taken for a vaginal delivery? So remember, there is nothing like that in the very first trimester to tell you all how you can have a vaginal delivery. All that we want at this in the first 3 months is that the mother should be having less amount of vomiting. She should be able to consume something. She should stay healthy and she should not take anything that is going to be harmful for the baby. So this is what we are generally expecting in the first 3 months. And with all that nausea, vomiting that she's going to have, you cannot be giving her a specific diet or specific exercises. She will be most of the time tired in the first 3 months. So that is not the time for us to decide about a vaginal delivery or a cesarean delivery. So there are no specific medicines, no specific diet in the first trimester to tell you all if she's going to have a vaginal delivery or not. And for every doctor, every gynecologist aims at giving a vaginal delivery to every primary gravid, that is every mother that has carried a pregnancy for the first time is carrying, we would like to give you a vaginal delivery only. And for all that, we'll keep guiding you through the course of pregnancy. Okay, so this is the first question that you will have. The second thing is, whenever there is a vaginal delivery, you may ask us about having a scheduled vaginal delivery or a muhurtam vaginal delivery. So there is nothing like a scheduled vaginal delivery. Vaginal delivery is a long process. So if you're opting for vaginal delivery, you should be prepared for at least 1 to 2 days for having the vaginal delivery. Why all this 1 to 2 days? That is almost 24 to 48 hours time you may have to spend to have a vaginal delivery. So this is because the cervix, which is the opening to the uterine cavity, or otherwise it's like the entrance to the uterine cavity, has to open up. This cervix is always a very closed one. It is tightly closed. It has to retain the pregnancy for 9 months, and that is why now something that was closed for 9 months has to get opened up. So for it to open, it will take a lot of time. And then the baby's head size is almost about 9.5 to 10 centimeter. So for this closed cervix to open up to about 10 centimeter, we may require almost about 24 to 48 hours time. Okay. So that is why you cannot have something called as a scheduled vaginal delivery. Delivery by 3 o'clock, delivery by 4 o'clock and all cannot happen for a vaginal delivery. But you can give a time slot, say you want the delivery in a particular day, say on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, then that we can plan accordingly. So why is this taking so long? The cervix is generally closed. For it to open to up to 4 to 5 centimeter, it takes about 12 to 18 hours of time. So this is called as a latent phase. And then the cervix to open from about 5 to 10 centimeter will take another 5 hours time. So overall, if you see, it can take anywhere from 18 to 24 hours. So you should give a dedicated 2 days minimum for having a vaginal delivery. This is if the patient responds very well. If she is not responding and there are no uterine contractions, the cervix is not responding well, then it may take even longer if you're still continuing with the trial of labor. So this is a process of vaginal delivery. And during this is the time that usually it takes for a vaginal delivery. And regarding the pains, looking at the pains in the initial till about 4 to 5 centimeter, the patient will perceive pain, which is coming from the back and then to the tummy and then to the thighs. But they will be mild in nature and she'll be able to manage. Subsequently, that is after 5 centimeter, the pains are a little more intense. That is, the uterine contractions will be more intense. And that is when she may start giving up. So at this point of time, we may offer you various types of analgesia that are available with us, or we may also give you a choice of having epidural analgesia, or otherwise called as a painless labor. Okay, so this is about the pains. Then the next thing is, even if it is a vaginal delivery, this is all called as a trial of labor. For every patient, we are trying to give a vaginal delivery. So there are some occasions then when we may have to take her for a cesarean section. So this will happen if she is not responding to the medications that we are giving, or there is a delay in, we calculate the time duration for the delivery process. And whenever we feel she is not responding to the medication, or the duration is too long, or if there is any fetal distress, that is the heartbeat is becoming low, or if there is any meconium, that is a baby passes stool, that is very early in the labor process, say early by about 3 to 4 centimeter itself, if the patient passes stool, that is also the time when we will not be allowing the patient to continue for the vaginal delivery, and we may tell you that the patient will have to be shifted for a cesarean section. So there is no guarantee for every patient. We will try our best, but even if there is any problem, then we may have to shift the patient from a vaginal trial to a cesarean section. So don't get worried when the doctor tells you, no, now it is time for taking for a cesarean section. There are some reasons for which and why we have to do a cesarean, for the safety of the mother and safety of the baby as well. So this is all about the vaginal delivery. Okay, so one is the process that you all should understand, and how the labor pains go, and then when we may have to take her for a cesarean section. The next thing is, following the delivery, we have the baby which will deliver. Once a baby delivers, the baby will be handed over to the pediatrician for the initial newborn resuscitation. And if the baby is doing well, then automatically the baby is brought to the mother, and then we help her in feeding the baby. And if there is any episiotomy, that is, we give a small cut in the perineal region, we may have to suture the episiotomy. Then there's one more thing very important, is about instrumental delivery. On occasions, the head would have descended, but the mother is not able to push well, then maybe we may have to use something called as a forceps or a vacuum also, when there are poor maternal efforts. That is, the mother is not able to push the baby down. Then coming to the postpartum, post-delivery care, what do we do following the delivery of the baby? Once the mother, the episiotomy is sutured and mother is shifted to the room, we are going to watch her for any excessive bleeding. If there is any excessive bleeding, then we need to take care of it. The patient needs to inform us. Otherwise, she is allowed to eat normally. She can take good amount of water, and we also ask her to take good amount of rest, and the lactation nurse is going to come and help her in taking care of the baby. They will teach her in the breastfeeding and how to feed, and in case there are any problems with the nipple or anything else, then they may help you in sorting out that as well. So this is what we do in the immediate postpartum. Subsequently, following the delivery, so usually we keep you in the hospital for about 24 to 48 hours, and then we discharge the mother. Once discharged, she is allowed to have a bath. She can take a regular bath as usual every day. And if she is having pain in the episiotomy region, she is going to do a sitz bath. That is, she'll take a tub, put hot water into that, and she will sit in that for about 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon, and again 15 minutes in the night. It will helping in the process of reducing the amount of pain. So we advise you to also wear a binder, that is an abdominal binder. This is to support the back and to support the tummy. And while feeding the baby, don't strain yourself too much. Take a pillow, a feeding pillow, and try to support the baby. Bring the baby towards your breast, and you don't go towards the baby. Otherwise, you will start having a lot of backache. And then there'll be a number of medications that we'll give you, which will be the antibiotics and the analgesic drugs, which you will have to continue to take. And then you will be called back after a week or so. During this time, if you have certain small problems can happen. One thing is usually like patient will ask you about her diet. She's like, what and all can I eat? So you can eat everything except anything that is going to cause colic to the baby. Okay, so things that cause problem to you, say anything that is causing a lot of acidity in your regular diet as well, you can avoid those. So here we generally tell them about avoiding green chili, avoiding moong dal, avoiding chana dal, besan, anything that is cold, that is directly from the refrigerator. Okay, and also try to avoid bakery food. So these are the foods that you're supposed to be restricting. Otherwise, you can have a regular, normal, homemade diet. You can have the other dals other than the moong dal and the chana dal. And with regard to fruits, you can have papaya, pomegranate, and apple initially. And try to take good amount of fiber so that you're passing stool every day, and drink good amount of water so that you pass urine well, and because of which your lactation output also will increase. So what is a specific thing that you have to do for improving your lactation? Lactation means nothing but improving the milk output. For increasing the milk output, important thing is that you eat well, sleep well, and just stay bonded with the baby. Whenever the baby sleeps, it doesn't mean you have to go and do some other work. Rather, you sleep along with the baby and that develop that bonding. So once you develop the bonding, the milk output will automatically increase. So whenever there is stress, automatically the milk output will decrease. So ensure you're eating well, sleeping well, and spending good amount of time with the baby. So with regard to food restrictions, I've already told you all to avoid certain things. Otherwise, you can have your regular food. And including curds too, you can have curds but not directly from the refrigerator. You can have a curd that was curdled in the morning. By afternoon, you can make it very thin. Add good amount of water, add some amount of salt and little ginger if you want to, and you can drink that too. And to improve the milk output, these three things, besides that, in your diet, you can also add cumin seeds, methi seeds. While boiling your water, you add these seeds and then you filter that and you drink that water. That will also help in increasing the amount of milk that you're going to give. So this is all regarding the lactation. Then some certain problems that you will have will be like, you will say complaining that there is pedal edema. You may say I'm having a lot of pedal edema. Pedal edema is nothing but swelling of the legs. So in this case, what you need to do is check your blood pressure at home. If it is more than 140/90, then you need to report to the hospital. If it is less than that, nothing much to worry. Just ensure your calf region is also soft. If your calf region has become hardened, then that is a worrisome factor. Probably there is deep vein thrombosis. So worrisome is when there is high blood pressure, or when the calf region becomes hard and there is clotting of the blood inside. So these two things are not good. But generally this edema that is there will soon resolve in about 2 weeks time. So nothing much to bother as long as these two problems are not there. Coming to the partner, okay? So it is very important that the partner, there should be a partner who should accompany the mother when she comes for the delivery. So this partner could be her mother, it could be her sister, or it could be anybody from the family, or her own husband, okay? So any of them can become good birthing partners. What are your birthing partners supposed to be doing? So it is very important that these birthing partners provide good amount of physical and emotional support to the mother during the process of normal delivery. So in this, why she requires support? She's going to get stressed out because she's having pains, or she's also worried what might happen to the baby, or why is it taking very long? So at this point of time, what we want you to do is to just comfort the mother, saying that all is going well and nothing much to worry. So we also want the attendants to understand whatever we are speaking, so that the same may also be conveyed in a language that the patient is going to understand. And in case the patient has any problem too, the same can be conveyed by the attendant, that is a birthing partner, to the doctor or the duty doctors or the nurses, whoever is available, can be conveyed to them. So that is why a birthing partner is very must. And second thing is that the patient definitely will trust her own people much more than the people from the hospital. And it is definitely more comforting to have your own person. So that is why it is mandatory that a birthing partner is always available with the patient while she's delivering. And during this process, suppose husbands or anybody else, whoever is there, all that you can do is, one is emotionally keep her soothed, just comfort her. Second thing is you can just keep giving her little sips of water, or maybe if she wants something else like tea, coffee, or little juice also you can bring for her. Or sometimes you can do a little bit of massages as well, back massage or the neck massage or leg massage. This also can be very comforting for the mother. So if there is any such thing, it will definitely, the presence of a partner is very, very important. A few things that the birthing partner needs to know before you all come for the admission is that, remember to bring your ID cards, that is the Aadhaar cards. And then if you're applying for the insurance, ensure your insurance details are all available. And then along with that, also ensure the finances are also arranged. And then for the patient, ensure she has comfy wear, some very comfortable wear, so that it's going to be a long duration of stay in the hospital for about 24 to 48 hours. So she should be having comfortable wear and maybe a pair of slippers. her toiletries, which will include her toothpaste, toothbrush, comb, and various other things that she might be very specific about. And for the baby, ensure you'll bring a nice towel and clean, washed clothes for the baby, and also the toiletry required for the baby, usually, which will be a massage oil and a baby soap and all that, which will be required. And maybe a bottle with a sipper for the mother to drink water, and a few juices also, if required, you can bring, or otherwise they're all available around this place. You can buy them here also. The next thing is about the lactation. Usually the milk is not very much adequate on the first day of your delivery. By about 72 hours, the milk output will be adequate for the baby as well. In case the milk is very good amount of milk output is there, that alone will be sufficient for your baby. If not, you may have to give the top feeds only after the advice of the lactation nurse and also of the pediatrician. Otherwise, by yourself, stop giving the top feeds, okay? And following that, once you go home, there might be excess milk as well. Initially, you would have complained that there is very less milk, no milk. But over time, the amount of milk output will start increasing rapidly, and the mother breast will start overflowing, and sometimes you might be even throwing out this milk. So if any of you are having excessive milk and are throwing milk, please do not do it. Kindly store it in a bottle. How to do it will be advised to you by the lactation nurse, and this milk can be utilized in our milk bank. Okay. So why am I telling all this is because we do have a milk bank. It's not a commercial one, and it is only to help and save many other babies. There are many, this is a level 3 tertiary NICU setup that we have in this hospital, where they have a number of small babies ranging from anywhere from 600 grams to about 1 to 1.5 kg also. So here the mothers of these babies are not having good amount of milk output, basically because the baby is a preterm baby, and then she's under stress because the baby is admitted in the NICU, and probably she's not sleeping well, she's not eating well, and that's why the milk output is less. And there is no bonding also for the mother because the baby is in the NICU. As a result, the amount of milk that is coming is very less. So for such babies, we require only mother's milk or human milk. So if there is any excess milk from y'all that y'all are going to donate, this can be utilized for these babies. So why this particular milk and why not the top feed? Because the top feed does not have the correct proportion of nutrients, the correct amount of protein or the right protein. It does not have a right balance of bacteria. So all this is lacking in the formula feeds, and only the human milk has the right balance of protein, bacteria, the carbohydrates, the sugars, everything that is required for the baby is there in appropriate and right amounts in the human milk only. So if any of you are having excess amount of milk, please do donate it. And for further information, you can contact the milk bank, which is located on the 3rd floor in Ankura Hospital. Thank you.